What's going on, guys? Happy Friday. And for Iren holders, it is a very happy Friday. In this video, we're going to talk about Iren, look at the chart, talk about their earnings briefly. We're also going to look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been pulling back. It's like 108,000 as of this upload. We also received PCE today, and while it didn't come down from its previous read, it also didn't go up from there, just hovering at a 2.6%. As we approach the Fed meeting and the anticipation of rate cuts, and despite PCE, PPI, and CPI all not being at the Fed's 2% target, we are still anticipating cuts. The Fed Watch tool expects an 86% chance of a cut in September, with a 13% chance of leaving rates current. And by the end of this year, the market is still anticipating 2 rate cuts as the most likely thing to happen, with the next most likely outcome being 3 rate cuts. And maybe the Fed's 2% inflation target is a little too optimistic, and moving forwards, the Fed's 2% goal is now more like a 2.5 or 3% goal. Our next inflation reads do come out before the Fed meeting. We have PPI coming out and CPI before the Fed meeting, but it seems like a rate cut is already set in stone regardless of what we get. Looking over PPI, our last read was 3.3%. It has been rising recently. And CPI is the same story. Their last read was a 2.7%. It has also been rising, as you can see. It does seem to me like 3% is becoming the new 2% goal. And because of how the labor market has been turning out, the Fed is being more relaxed about that 2% goal for inflation. We do have some important labor data coming up. US non-farm payrolls being released on the 5th of September before the Fed's meeting. In our last read, we saw unemployment going higher to 4.2 from 4.1%, and less than expected jobs added. 73 jobs added in July, lower than the expectation of 104,000. But this is also something that's very big. Recent revisions. May's jobs were revised down to 19,000 from 144,000. And June's was cut to just 14,000 from 147,000. And it's kind of funny if you ask me, because the Fed wants cuts. And this is pretty much what is bringing the cuts, is the poor jobs. And this quote kind of sums it up. Trump took it to mean the BLS wanted his policies to look bad, and he took retribution, even though this softer job data may have provided the US Federal Reserve with a reason to serve these interest cuts that he wanted so bad. But I'll leave that article down below for you. It goes over upcoming companies' earnings as well, and talks a little bit more of the potential for cuts. But you know, with this weak job data, maybe the Fed is more okay with this 3% inflation. Maybe that becomes the norm. No matter what, whether it's 2% or 3%, inflation is always going to continue. Our currency that we hold in our bank accounts, in our savings accounts, is always going to lose its purchasing power because there is always new currency being produced, being printed. Our dollars are always losing value, losing purchasing power. Bitcoin is the answer. And looking at Bitcoin, we are still following this falling wedge, but look at this pattern that we talked about a few days ago. It clearly reacted on that pattern. You saw that reaction on a break. We tried to regain it. We got rejected, and then we sold off more. You could also say it reacted around that 50 MA as well. That might have just amplified this clear move. But now we are at multi-week lows. Bitcoin is down at 108,000, possibly heading to its 200 MA if we don't see a reaction on this falling wedge. On these falling wedges, you tend to see a breakout. Once it breaks out, you get a good reaction. That is what I'm hoping for. But if we don't get a reaction on this, if the market decides to just keep selling off, we may see 101,000 right at our 200 MA, and that may be a good point to dip your toes into some Bitcoin if you wanted to accumulate more. That would be nearly a 20% discount from its top. Now, I do want to talk about Iren. Iren just absolutely blew their earnings out of the water. They're also anticipating a profitable quarter in upcoming earnings and a record revenue. But looking at their earnings they just released, they beat EPS by a wide margin. It was estimated to be 17 cents EPS. They got 64 cents earnings per share. Their revenue was a slight miss, but the big thing here is their EPS. They are very profitable. They are the most efficient Bitcoin miner. And I sound like a broken record at this point, but efficiency is key. And some people say it's the AI stuff, and sure, that's part of it, but their Bitcoin mining side of the business is much larger when you look at revenue. This is not just a move based on their AI hype. This is also their Bitcoin mining. They are very efficient, and they are very profitable. Now, in my last video, we pointed out this bearish divergence. I would be very cautious with Iren here. Currently, from cycle low to here, it is up 25x. It has done a 25x from roughly $1. And just know that if you're buying here, you should probably have a plan in place. It is definitely overbought. It has a massive bearish divergence, and it is near the top point of this pattern that has been pretty much following since the beginning of the cycle. And every time it hits these points, it does get a bearish divergence, which typically brings it down from there. I would anticipate to see Iren cool down, but at the same time, earnings was absolutely fantastic, and next earnings could be more of the same. But let me know how you're feeling about Bitcoin. Are you accumulating at these prices? Are you waiting for lower prices? Is it too late in the cycle for you to accumulate? And what about Iren? Are you buying here? Are you trimming here? Preparing for some pullbacks? If you're buying shares here, it might not be a horrible idea to buy some protective puts if we do start pulling back. It'll give you a little bit of insurance if things do drop hard. Keep in mind that it's only been a month and it's up about 85%. But anyways, thanks as always for watching, guys. Have a good weekend. I will see you in a couple days.